Hello. How are you today? I'm having a morning. I just want to get out of my parking spot and head up the hill to go to work. And there is a string of cars hanging out in the alley behind my apartment, acting all problematic. I got 3.5 hours sleep last night. I have consumed literally 1 quart of coffee. I went keto, like full-on keto, last Wednesday. I think, well, I wanted to say with confidence that the crabby days are over. And then I woke up today and it's been a circus, I'm telling you. I just got off the phone with Myra. This is going to be a long one. I got a lot on my chest. Phone call with Myra, who's a tax compliance person at EDD. She doesn't understand why the payroll company submitted 2 forms with different amounts on different days for the same person. Why would I know that? Why would I have that explanation? Well, someone's trying to call me. They're just going to have to wait. She kept saying the same thing over and over and over again. It is somebody I know and love. The same thing over and over and over again. The same thing. And when I would try to ask her questions, her answer was exactly the same answer. 2 forms, 2 amounts, but if you add them up, they equal this amount. Well, what the hell does that mean? So I called the payroll company, and the payroll company said things that none of the amounts that this woman told me match what the payroll company said. So this is a deeper problem than that. But they can't just call some woman. They need an official letter from the state of California saying, "What the fuck, Chuck?" So I call back Myra and I requested a "what the fuck, Chuck" letter. And she said, "Well, I just was calling because I was confused. I'm just going to say it's okay. And, maybe it'll be a problem with a different department. But maybe not." Okay, sis. Okay. So, you're willing to kick the can down the road just to get this off your desk because you have the authority to do that. But it might tangle things up and cause problems for the client down the road. And you're okay with that. I think my, ancient Catholic guilt worked on her, what I think is her current Catholic guilt. And she said, "Okay, I'll call the other department and see what I get." Finally, she's going to try and solve the problem internally, which she probably should have done in the first place. Probably should have done that to start with. She's confused, and now she's stirred up the client, and she stirred me up. During the first phone call with this woman this morning, I stopped her and I said, okay, you're going to stop talking because you just keep saying the same thing over and over again. There's no new information. Don't act like what you just said this second was any different than what you said 60 seconds ago. It's not. There's no big revelation here. So as we're wrapping up the call, she says to the client, thank you for being so nice to me during this. I called the client. I said, listen, passive aggressive is the song of my people. I completely heard her call me a bitch. Thank you. At least one of you was nice to me. Listen, if you're going to be confused, you're going to have to take it on the chin sometimes. And I don't think I was mean, but I was certainly direct. And I do know that my brand of directness is a little scary. I know that about myself. What's this guy honking about? You're not special. You can wait your turn. So that was chapter 1. Chapter 1. Oh, I hope she figures it out. So then I had to call the client and tell her, you may or may not be getting a letter from EDD, which is the Employment Development Department of California State Tax, whatever. If you get it, just scan it to me. That way I can get the payroll company looped in, because they will not take action if the state does not ask for action. But this woman might just clean it off her desk and, nothing comes of it. Oh, this is nonsense. Okay, so last week I talked about a serial killer idea. I need some gum. Sorry, kids. I'm having a little tickle in my throat. I got a tickle in my throat. So I will be chomping gum. I know it's probably gross, but you either want to be here or you don't. And you either forgive me or you don't. I am a woman of human origins. And sometimes I get a tickle in my throat. So, serial killer. One of you remarked, maybe he's doing sperm donation and pro-life stuff because he's trying to repopulate and have a supply of people he could kill down the road, which I think is interesting. The whole like, oh, well, you used one up, you better put another one in the... I had roommates who couldn't get this right about the milk. We would run out of milk. They would drink just enough so there was just enough to piss you off in the bottom of the bottle, so they wouldn't be held responsible to go get a new bottle of milk. And and I think there's something to it. I think what was grabbing me, if you're new and you haven't seen this, I'm playing with the idea that there's a serial killer who at the same time is pro-life and is a prolific sperm donor. And the idea of it that intrigued me was the obvious dissonance between your killer, but this life preservation stuff doesn't absolve you from your murderousness. And I think there might be something there. A friend thought it was a comedy and a TV show. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. Although I could see why she came up with that, because it is so odd. I was not a big fan of Dexter. The one season I loved was the John Lithgow season. And I would rewatch that particular season. But there's just not enough John Lithgow in my television and movie viewing diet. He was in Conclave, by the way, if I haven't hyped that movie enough. I loved Conclave so much. And then the Pope died, and then we had a real conclave. Huh. Interesting. But they didn't mess around, did they? 2 days. Boom. Have your new Pope. All right. So, yeah, I don't know that I could live in that world, for 2 or 3 seasons. That just sounds horrifying to me. I'm still trying to figure out what is this world that this serial killer lives in. I think it's very interesting. You had like the proliferation of serial killers in the 70s and the 80s, and you pair that up with the satanic panic, and since then we do have serial killers, and the United States is not the only place that has them. It's a whole, you could be a killer from anywhere. I'm so glad I'm not monetized, because this episode would definitely get me demonetized. How many times can you say the word killer in one episode? Oh no. So I think I would want to make it modern times, current day, not a period piece. So there's a lot of weird wrinkles to that, because there has been a huge fall off of what's reported, at least. And there's I think there are a lot of reasons for that. I think one, the FBI has gotten better at identifying people sooner. They didn't have profilers. Mindhunter is a great show. I'm so sorry we don't get another episode. Thank you, Mr. Fincher. I thought it was fantastic. Well done. And the guy who played Ed Kemper is my favorite. I'm sorry. Guy who played King George and is a character from Frozen, you're adorbs. Love you. Seriously. But that Ed Kemper guy, I actually wrote a script with that guy in mind, because I like him so much. And he showed up, what did he show up in? The Umbrella Academy? And it was so, that dude's a character actor. Nice. Excellent. And MCU is going to get their hands on him, and then he's going to get all jacked and buff, and then everyone's only ever going to see him as a heroic sex bod guy. But I like somebody who can like transform and be different characters. We'll go back to Ralph Fiennes for a minute. The exact same set of acting tools. This is the same man who is in Schindler's List and Grand Budapest Hotel and Conclave. And without prosthetics, without anything fancy, he's a completely different person in every single one of those movies. I delight in Ralph Fiennes. So, back to the story idea. One of the things that I have to crack in this is, why are we entering the story now? Why now? Like when you look at The Godfather opens up at Connie's wedding. And it's the day that he can refuse no request. The Godfather has to fulfill any request. This is the day that we jump in. It's his last kid getting married. I don't know if Fredo's married by now. He is in Godfather 2, but he's not the baby. I think Connie's the baby. So it's a graduation point for Vito. And Michael is back from the war. So we answer the question, why start the story here? And in The Godfather, it's very clear, start the story here because this is a celebration for sure. But in the structure of the family, it's a massive reset. It's a massive reset on for all the generations on many levels, and that draws us in because the world is established, but it's new. It's now new. There's Vito is older now. He doesn't have any kids at home anymore. Michael is not yet Michael. There's expectations, that Tom Hagen's going to be the consigliere someday. That day is much sooner than anybody thinks, because their whole world is now, you've turned the page, it's a clean page, and although they know the world they come from, the world they're going into is totally new. Now apply that same principle to anything else that you're writing. This why start the story at this particular moment? Sunset Boulevard opens on a dead body floating in a pool. And then the next beat is the dead body is not dead. Now we're flashed to the past, and how did this guy wind up dead in the pool? That's the whole question. So we go to the moment when he enters the world of this former movie star, and we watch the twists and turns from there. Finding when to start the story also tells us why to tell the story. And I think I will have a better handle on what I want to do with this character when I figure out what the juxtaposition is of the world he's used to and the world that he's entering. Yep. That's where I am with that one. I started to watch that Happy Face Killer show, and I really want to like it. And I don't. I like that Annalie? In my mind, she is a comedian and a singer. And I don't know why I feel that way. I feel like I want to see her sing and be funny. And the guy who's playing her husband usually plays somebody funny. So here they got these two comedians playing this married couple dealing with this very strange story of a girl whose father is a famous serial killer. So that goes back to the Zodiac thing I was playing with. So I'm not wrong that there's something there about the infamy and the fame of serial killers. And I think they're trying to explore that in Happy Face. Where it falls down for me is the story with the kids. That the kids have to deal with this new reputation of being descended from this serial killer. And I'm not with it. It doesn't feel real. It feels like the most fictional part of the whole thing. And I feel like it's a slap-on, it's an add-on, that it's not organic to the story itself. And then there's the investigatory part that feels a little goofy. I don't know what happened. I think this is where my problem is with the serial killers comedy thing, because they're not playing this for laughs and it's not funny, but they've stacked it with comic actors, and I don't know. It rings forced to me. It feels like, and this maybe, I may not write the story, I may just fiddle around with it, but I may not actually write my story. It lacks the authority that somebody who really knows the world understands, which then begs the question, is this the world that I really want to understand? Do I want to get into the mind of somebody who would act like this? I don't know. Maybe not. It's a weak entry into the whole, if a serial killer is a genre, it's a weak entry. Which is too bad, because that cast is quite good. Did I tell you the part? I've only had 3.5 hours sleep. Wish me luck, because I have to go now do analytical thinking, looking at bills and making sure I write them out correctly. And you didn't even think about stopping. Oy, oy, oy. That's an accident waiting to happen. It really is. They put stop signs for a reason. So, we're getting close to the end of our little trip. And I should say something wonderful and cheerful and lovely. And I feel just goofy. I just feel goofy and tired. I hope you have a really great day. I hope that you have fun today, that something fun happens. But this is where I must leave you. Thanks for being here.